It's so fantastic to have you here on Impact FinTech
Thank
2017. You. Thank you for being our guest. My first question will be, what's your way of understanding how world of finance is changing nowadays?
Well, one way of understanding what's happening in the world of finance is by being here, being close to the market, understanding exactly what the trends are. This is one region, but some of the trends are global, and it's interesting to see how these are, being adopted here. But we, as Nasdaq, are an exchange in the US, in the Nordics, where we own and operate 7 exchanges, Stockholm, Helsinki, Copenhagen. So we see many different marketplaces, but we're also a technology provider to 90 exchanges globally, 10,000 customers on the brokerage side. So we see a lot of trends on a global level, but it's always good to be here, hear the local trends, hear what's going on. And there's obviously a lot going on in Poland today. And Poland has a fundamental role, not only in Europe, but also in this region.
Thinking globally, where is the heart? Where's the heart beating of those changes? In London still?
You mean in terms of financial markets?
Yes.
Well, London will always be an important financial market, but the worst thing that financial markets, dread is uncertainty. And right now around London, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Because of Brexit?
Because of Brexit. And that uncertainty will mean that banks have to make decisions. Do they want to speculate on that? Or do they want to be active in terms of making decisions, moving people out to Frankfurt, to Euro country, and building from there? Because you can't, in this financial technology world, right, in the financial world today, you can't be passive. You have to make decisions. And that uncertainty is not going to play in the favor of London. Right now, short term, maybe not such a big impact, but medium, long term, certainly if Brexit happens, that will create an uncertainty. Otherwise, New York remains a key financial hub. We see it as a very relevant marketplace on a global level, but we see also that if us as a provider can be efficient, transparent, trustworthy, close to the market, then we can become a relevant financial market for our region, and which we have become.
I was told here before that if we speak about places that are setting the trends,
yeah.
We have London, we have New York, of course, and we have Hong Kong, where is the financial.
Or you have Stockholm, where we've had 100 listings this year, which is amazing. So I think trends are global, but tend to gravitate around certain key financial sectors. And you mentioned a few. I think Frankfurt is also important. So we will see that trends become more visible in these financial sectors, but at the end of the day, financial technology is also key in Africa in terms of enabling and empowering people that are outside business regions, using their mobile to pay or get paid, etc. So financial technology is really not enabling the key financial centers, but enabling on a global level to use technology for financial purposes.
Because the reason why I asked you that question and I mentioned those
yes.
places was, I wonder what should we do in Poland to add Warsaw, our capital city, to that list?
Well, if you look at one trend, one trend that we have is number of companies listed on the exchange. And Stockholm has now, year on year, been the most active market in terms of raising capital for companies coming to market. So in a way, we are the leading market right now in terms of number of companies coming to market, and that's a population of 10 million. Warsaw has all the opportunity to become not only a key player in the region, but a significant player in Europe. And I think it just needs to focus on where are its strengths, don't overstretch itself, but focus on really what are the key areas that it wants and where it wants to become an established player, and deliver on that. And technology will play a fundamental role in enabling that strategy in reach, because before a lot of that strategy had to be enabled with people, physically and so on. Nowadays, with technology, you can have a much bigger reach and a much bigger impact in a shorter time.
Considering the CEE region, what should we focus on? What's your advice?
Again, I look at our strategy when we acquired the Nordic exchanges was to really make these exchanges significant for each local market. Stockholm, Copenhagen, Helsinki, the Baltics, Iceland. And we have really delivered on that. And we have delivered on that by leveraging technology. We've created one platform for all these markets. We created synergies, we created efficiencies, we created attractiveness for foreign investors to come and invest in our local markets. That is essentially what I think, they should look at our, in a way, we had a legacy that we stepped into, but I think Warsaw can have this, it has to create ease of access, ease of, transparency, trust, and making sure that it builds on that platform over time, not only to attract international investors, but to make sure that it becomes a natural market from a regional perspective. And I think it has all the potential to do that.
Speaking of fintechs, what should be the desired model of interaction among fintechs and giant banks, venture capital funds, investment funds? Because there are many paths they can follow. Some are traps, some are way to success.
Well, I just want to correct one thing before also. It's very easy for me to sit and say here what Warsaw should do. Those were just, high-level thinking. Warsaw's doing a lot of good things, or the Warsaw Stock Exchange is doing a lot of things, and we're actually a partner of the Warsaw Energy Exchange, so as a technology partner for them. So we have a great respect for the market and the challenges in this region. I think the important thing for an ecosystem is that there is not only one piece. An ecosystem is a full circle, a food chain, in terms of providing different sources of financing for the entrepreneurs. And
like a chain reaction among hundreds of elements.
Well, I mean, the important thing is that when you start a company, if we just focus from a startup point of view, when you start, typically you go to friends and family. Then if as things move on, you notice that the business model works. Then you're able to raise more money. You can either go to a VC, and then maybe a bank, and then eventually maybe it becomes such a consolidated business that a private equity sees that it can buy it, that allow you to grow further, or potentially leverage this exchange. If you don't have all these bits and pieces and substantial amounts of money for each part, then the risk is that you create an ecosystem where there's a lot of startups, but there's no support to take them to the next step. And so you really need to make sure that you have good alternatives for the right companies to grow and to access finance for each stage of development.
Finally, what are, in your opinion, 3 most important trends for 2018 or maybe for 2019 and 2020 for fintech companies?
Yeah. Well, I think for the financial markets, I think the biggest question is what is happening with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and what does this mean for the financial market? We as an exchange don't really follow it so much.
Because you're afraid of their
unexpectancy,
or?
No, I think it's more, of course we follow it, we monitor it, but it's a bit like the dollar. We don't necessarily follow the dollar more or less, or the Japanese yen, or us as an exchange, we look more at key trends that impact the financial markets overall from an infrastructure point of view. And those are, trends for us is that technology will play a fundamental part of the game, and they are already today. So blockchain, we've made a number of investments in companies that are developing different pieces of the distributed ledger technology, blockchain. We are developing projects ourselves within blockchain. We are acquiring companies in the artificial intelligence space. We're investing in companies in that, machine learning, because there's so much data. You have to understand what is happening with that data and making the most of it. And not only for us as an exchange, but for our customers to provide that. So those are some trends. Overall, the trends is, we come now from almost 10 years of good financial developments. And it's going to be interesting to see, with all the quantitative easing and all the support that has been in the financial market, how sustainable is this? And how do we manage to keep the markets thriving and make sure that there is a strong ecosystem to support development like startups or technology developments over time? Because I think that will significantly improve the financial markets over time.
Finally, I have my wallet with me in my jacket. You probably have the same as well. In last 10 years, I almost get rid of paper money, and I only have my plastic cards.
Yeah.
Do you think is it possible to get rid of most of those plastic cards by 2020? That's why that's what
By
that's what, that was
2020?
yeah, that was the reason I asked you that question.
Well, in Sweden, I don't use. I'm even
You have
better.
yours.
I'm even better than you
Yeah.
actually, because my wallet is completely plastic.
Yeah,
So
and even protected for
yeah.
scanning.
No. So from my perspective, I live in Sweden, and because we acquired the Nordic exchanges in 2008, so our headquarters from Europe is there, and Sweden is a cashless society now.
Cashless society.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, my kids don't use cash. I can pay for, if they need money, I pass it through the phone. It's immediate. I can pay for things via my phone or with my credit cards. So, I mean, I think it will take time for many other ecosystems and other financial markets to catch up, but there are already good examples of cashless societies which are significant, and I think the trend is going to go super quick. And I think the new generation will also be much quicker adopting than this will go super quick, whether it's 2020, 21, 22.
That's a very big challenge, because in just 3 years, will it change into just having a smartphone within 3 years, or maybe just one,
or
or
maybe
two
you
plastic
just get
cards?
a chip in your arm and you pay.
If we'll agree for it, yeah.
Listen, I think it will go super quick. I think the relevance of cash is going to diminish in the Western world day by day. I think even in the third world countries or the emerging markets, basically, I think also you're seeing a trend that cash is becoming less relevant because you're doing so much more with the mobile and so on. They're skipping different platforms and moving directly to the mobile. So 2020, it's not unrealistic, but I think it's not a reality for many markets. But for some markets, like Sweden, it's already a reality.
Let's hope on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.